Thank you.
Thank you. Our next education question starts with Cleopatra Tucker. How will you work to support our district's intentional integration goals? You have 2 minutes and unmute yourself, please.
Well, I would work with our school systems to make sure that they follow the guidelines and making sure that they integrate the schools properly and have just don't draw a certain line to say this is when you think about how to integrate the school systems, which is that's like it's sort of like a thing. How do you tell somebody that they can't go to this school in this district because of and a lot of things that they've been told, it's not necessarily true that everybody should have the same opportunity and go to the schools and be integrated properly.
Thank you. Garnett Hall, please unmute yourself for your 1 minute response.
I fully support the integration of SMSD elementary schools, just as I supported them and have been involved in it. The Community Coalition on Race, I was actually here at the first meeting that they had, and we brought that up as a topic. I was involved in when we transferred about 200 students from the other side of town to Seth Boyden for a few years. It probably lasted 3 or 4 years. But I also liked the neighborhood, and I liked being able to walk my son to school, which most of us did. So I support integration, but if there is a way that we can also have community neighborhood schools, I'm all for that solution also.
Thank you. Frank McGehee, please unmute yourself for your 1 minute response.
Thank you, Sean. As a parent of a current South Orange Gateway School District student finishing a decade in the schools, I fully support the international integration plan for the district. Because if we don't, then we fall short of being the type of community we say we are and we're aspiring to be. Historically in Soma, we've had one school where 42% of the students are on free and reduced lunch, and another in the same district with not even 4%. We have a school which is more than 55% Black and another that is 61% white. South Orange and Maplewood are a microcosm of Essex and Union counties, where we are geographically diverse, but also intensely segregated. A good education should not depend on your zip code or your neighborhood. So when we talk about intentional integration, in the simplest of terms, we are not saying Black students need to sit next to white students in order to thrive. That is not what we're saying. Intentional integration is about equity and creating equitable education systems that connect under-resourced communities with resources and education so that all students can thrive. Resources like tutoring, enrichment programs, mental health, and other social services, including AP and honor classes. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have another question from our Racial Justice Committee. We start with Garnett Hall. Freedom to learn about racial justice is under attack in our country. What will you do to protect this freedom in New Jersey? Please unmute yourself for your 2 minute response.
Oh boy, this is a good one. We have to stand up, first of all. The right to learn and to secure New Jersey, and Milo just did a bill which was modeling with a school out in Illinois. You might be familiar with it, prohibiting libraries from banning books due to partisan pressure. I got so upset, furious, when I got the notice and I got on the phone and I got a lot of people together and I had a meeting, and guess what? They still all went. We have to stand up and stop this. I will support it, every bill to protect education. New Jersey requires that the state curriculum include teaching and learning about the entire African-American experience, including the incredible contributions of everyone, every field by your imagination, made by Black people. I didn't know this until I got to high school. Why didn't I learn this? The history was only learned by books that I read. And I went back to the school and questioned the teacher, and they had no answer either. So I really think that books are a way that we tell the true history of America, not just one type of slavery. That's all they told me, was that my Black people were just slaves, until I started reading books and I found out that it made the stop sign of the traffic light. That was my first learning of me looking to see, I better read further. So I will stand for this every day. I will stand for this whether I'm a candidate. I will stand for this whether I'm in the assembly. And I hope that everybody on this call will stand with me.
Thank you. Frank McGehee, your 1-minute response, and please unmute yourself.
Thank you. At the Freedom to Learn National Day of Action event a couple weeks ago in South Orange, I spoke about events underway to erase African-American history, LGBTQ history, and essentially American history. I also talked about my passion for reading, my passion for books, especially books by African-American authors. And for nearly every year that I served on the Maplewood Township Committee, during Black History Month, I hosted 1 or 2 book readings. Books that expressed amazing narratives about African-American history, past and present. Stories that really remind me of my father, my grandfather who left the deep South of Mississippi and migrated to Chicago, who worked for the railroad for a search for a better life, and the coming age of a young Black woman, just like my daughter. The books were The Hate U Give, The Warmth of Other Suns, The Nickel Boys, the New Jim Crow, and Caste. Amazing in narratives of African-American history. And today, these books are very important, but they're on banned list. As I mentioned that night, I would co-sponsor Assemblywoman Timberlake's legislation, making it illegal to ban books, but equally fight against bills such as A783, prohibiting teaching of critical race theory in public schools, and Bill S2685, which subjects teachers and school districts to penalties regarding teaching critical race theory.
Thank you. Cleopatra Tucker, please unmute yourself for your 1-minute response.
I continue to support the legislation that further ensure that New Jersey don't limit their students' learning. We have a bill that's already in progress called the Amistad Act. And if we can continue with this source, that we could continue to ensure that the Amistad Act is adopted in all the school districts in New Jersey. And that way they can learn not only
I'm sorry, Cleopatra, you've gone to mute for some reason. There you go.
Okay, I support at the future to ensure that New Jersey don't limit our students' learning about racial justice. We have an Amistad Act that we can continue to ensure that the Amistad Act is adopted in all the schools in the District of New Jersey, because all the schools don't participate or use the Amistad Act, and we have to make sure that we have an act in place and that it's fully operating throughout the school district, so everybody could have an opportunity to learn the Black history as well as history in general about the Amistad Act and the people in history that is omitted in some of the schools here in the state of New Jersey, even though we have an act to protect it.